Airline food during the golden age of air travel. Can you imagine a time when flying meant sitting down to a full, beautifully prepared meal, not scrambling for an overpriced snack at the gate? Believe it or not, that was simply how things worked during the golden age of aviation. Today, we're going back to the 1950s to recreate a luxurious United Airlines dinner, complete with pot roast, creamy potatoes, and a surprisingly delightful salad. This is the story of an era when airlines competed on the quality of their cooking, not just the price of their tickets. A fascinating and genuinely delicious trip through aviation history. Let's start by traveling back in time through the pages of United Airlines' very own cookbook, a collection called Favorite Recipes of Mainliner Chefs. Picture yourself settling into a plush seat, not merely for a flight, but for a carefully curated dining experience crafted by talented chefs, among them Emil Salman, Mark Gruber, and Edward Gerber. We'll be recreating a complete three-course meal, beginning with Chef Salman's New York Flight Kitchen masterpiece, a hearty beef pot roast packed with an array of rich, tantalizing ingredients. This dish was designed to be a symphony of bold, satisfying flavors, exactly the kind of food that defined the era's approach to in-flight cuisine. Next, we move on to Chef Gruber's Delmonico potatoes, a specialty from the Honolulu Flight Kitchen. Simple in its ingredients, yet elegant in its result, this dish reflects the culinary influences of the Pacific and showcases what can happen when fresh produce is treated with genuine care and attention. Finally, to round out our mid-air feast, we arrive at Chef Gerber's Heavenly Delight salad, created in the Washington Flight Kitchen. The name alone hints at something refreshing and light, a dish that plays with seasonal ingredients and a delicate, unexpected dressing. Together, these three courses paint a vivid picture of the dedication that went into feeding air travelers during the golden age of flight. And all of this culinary magic was crafted on the ground, in dedicated flight kitchens, before a single plane ever left the runway. Pot roast recipe. Chef Salman's pot roast is a culinary journey that carries us straight back to the 1950s, a time when airline meals were genuine expressions of elegance and sophistication. This dish, born in United Airlines' New York Flight Kitchen, stands as a testament to the ambition of those early culinary pioneers. We begin with a beautiful cut of beef, chuck or round, generously seasoned with salt and pepper, then dredged in flour to build a rich, flavorful crust. In a large pot, melted butter receives the meat and marrow bones, and as the beef sears to a deep golden brown, the kitchen fills with an extraordinary aroma. Next comes a medley of aromatic vegetables, onion, celery, and carrots, joined by parsley, cloves, bay leaves, and peppercorns. This ensemble simmers together for 15 minutes, allowing the flavors to meld and deepen. Then, the heart of the dish is revealed, a rich blend of garlic, beef stock, tomato paste, and a generous splash of red wine. This luscious mixture transforms the pot into a true culinary haven, where the meat will slowly braise toward tender perfection. With a gentle simmer and a tightly sealed lid, the pot roast undergoes a 2-hour transformation, patiently yielding its flavors until the meat is practically falling apart on its own. This dish, a genuine labor of love, embodies the spirit of classic comfort food, elevated to an art form by Chef Salman's expertise. It's a reminder that passengers of the past were treated to meals that genuinely warmed the soul, even at 30,000 feet. Delmonico potatoes recipe. Continuing through the pages of United Airlines' 1954 cookbook, we arrive at a dish that beautifully balances simplicity with elegance. Chef Mark Gruber's Delmonico potatoes, a specialty from the Honolulu Flight Kitchen, prove that a short list of ingredients can yield something truly memorable. We begin with 8 medium potatoes, peeled and chopped, their earthy character mingling with the vibrant color of half a cup of chopped pimentos. 2 cups of half and half bring a touch of richness, seasoned delicately with salt and pepper. This creamy base is gently heated to a simmer and then poured over the potatoes, enveloping each piece in its warm embrace. The dish then takes a long, slow bath in an oven set to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 190 degrees Celsius, for an hour and a half. During this time, the potatoes soften and absorb the flavors of the cream, developing a comforting warmth that speaks to the care taken in preparing airline meals during this era. The finishing touch is a generous blanket of Parmesan cheese, which returns to the oven at a slightly higher temperature of 400 degrees, melting into a golden, bubbling crust. The result is a beautiful contrast of textures and flavors, creamy beneath, golden on top. Chef Gruber's Delmonico potatoes are proof that simple ingredients, treated with respect, can produce something both comforting and refined. It's the kind of dish that would have delighted passengers cruising thousands of feet above the ground, offering them a taste of Honolulu's culinary warmth. A brief history of airline food. Before we get to the Heavenly Delight salad, a creation that genuinely challenges our definition of what a salad can be, it's worth pausing to explore how airline food came to be what it was. Much of what follows draws on insights from Richard Foss's remarkable book, Food in the Air and Space, a comprehensive look at culinary experiences beyond the confines of Earth. While Foss traces the story all the way back to the 18th century and the daring culinary adventures aboard hot air balloons, our journey picks up in the years following World War I, a pivotal moment for commercial aviation. On October 11, 1919, a Handley Page flight from Paris to London marked a genuine culinary milestone, the serving of the very first in-flight meal on a commercial airline. Passengers received pre-packaged lunch boxes containing a simple sandwich and a piece of fruit. Much like some budget airlines today, this meal was not included in the ticket price. Passengers had to pay an extra 3 shillings for the privilege of that cold repast. Cold in-flight meals remained the norm for the following decade. Western Air Express, which operated flights between Los Angeles and San Francisco, offered cold fried chicken, potato salad, and sandwiches catered by the iconic Los Angeles eatery, Pig and Whistle, a culinary landmark that sadly closed its doors some years ago. These early examples reveal both the challenges airlines faced and the foundation they were laying for something far more ambitious. The first hot meals, clippers and flight kitchens. While cold meals dominated the early days of in-flight dining, a culinary revolution was quietly taking shape. In 1928, Lufthansa raised the bar by introducing the first hot in-flight meal on their Berlin to Paris route. Food was prepared on the ground and kept warm in insulated containers, a growing ambition to offer passengers something more refined. However, maintaining proper temperature on longer flights remained a significant challenge. The real breakthrough came in the 1930s with the flying boats, specifically Pan American's iconic clippers. These spacious aircraft allowed for the installation of actual galleys, enabling not just reheating, but genuine cooking in the air. PanAm even incorporated dedicated dining rooms with tables and crisp white tablecloths, transforming air travel into a fine dining affair. United Airlines soon followed, integrating kitchens into their planes and offering passengers hot fried chicken and freshly scrambled eggs, a dramatic departure from the cold meals of the past. A pivotal moment in United's culinary journey came in 1936 with the establishment of their first dedicated flight kitchen in Oakland, California. There, a team of top chefs crafted menus that rivaled those of prestigious restaurants on the ground, while still being adaptable to the unique demands of in-flight service. This approach, known as mainliner cuisine, allowed for far more elaborate and flavorful dishes, since the bulk of preparation could be done before takeoff. The recipes we're exploring today are a direct testament to this spirit of innovation. United's pioneering efforts inspired other airlines to build their own dedicated flight kitchens, ushering in a golden age of in-flight dining. Menus from this era featured remarkable variety and sophistication. Delicacies like banana veal with Russian dressing, Boston cream pie, and even themed meals like an Irish-inspired feast served on St. Patrick's Day in 1940. European airlines embraced the trend as well, offering everything from lobster and foie gras to the elegant peach melba. Air travel had become a culinary adventure in its own right. The Maxon whirlwind oven and sky plates. As with many technological leaps, the next major advancement in airline food preparation emerged from the pressures of wartime. During World War II, a man named William Maxon and his company developed several groundbreaking inventions for the United States military. One of these creations would go on to transform in-flight dining, the Maxon whirlwind oven. This ingenious device used circulating air to heat food more evenly and rapidly, making it the direct precursor to the modern convection oven. The whirlwind oven was specifically designed to work alongside Maxon sky plates, pre-portioned meals used by the Navy and Army during and after the war. These individual portions offered a convenient and efficient way to deliver hot food to troops in the air. Following the war, Pan American Airlines recognized the potential of Maxon's innovation and integrated the whirlwind ovens into many of their commercial aircraft. This either eliminated the need for full kitchens on board or dramatically sped up the reheating of pre-prepared meals, a major step forward in streamlining in-flight food service. Stewardesses. World War II not only spurred technological change, but also reshaped the role of flight attendants in lasting ways. Female flight attendants, or stewardesses as they were then called, had existed since 1930, but the wartime shortage of men made them the standard for in-flight service, a trend that would persist for decades. In the post-war era, many airlines leaned heavily on the image of their stewardesses as a marketing tool, particularly targeting their predominantly male clientele. Advertisements emphasized the attractiveness and attentiveness of these women, portraying them as the epitome of service and hospitality. In the early days, aspiring flight attendants were required to be registered nurses, reflecting the importance of medical expertise in the air. By the 1950s, however, airlines had begun developing their own comprehensive training programs. A United Airlines advertisement featuring a young woman named Sherry Woodruff illustrated this shift, emphasizing how someone with no prior service experience could be transformed into a highly skilled stewardess, capable of serving gourmet meals, comforting nervous passengers, and providing basic first aid. Interestingly, these advertisements often subtly framed stewardess training as preparation for becoming an ideal housewife, highlighting skills like meal preparation, childcare, and a polished appearance. Some airlines even suggested their flights were prime locations for meeting a future husband. A 1967 United Airlines ad playfully referred to a long-serving stewardess as an old maid, simply because she hadn't yet married, a reflection of the expectations placed on women in that era. These attitudes had real consequences. United Airlines, for instance, had a policy of dismissing stewardesses upon marriage and enforced a mandatory retirement age of 30. These discriminatory practices were finally ruled illegal in 1971. Themed flights. During the 1950s and 60s, Airlines cleverly combined the appeal of their stewardesses with themed in-flight meals to create distinctive and memorable travel experiences. TWA, for example, introduced foreign accent flights, immersing passengers in Italian, French, Old English, or Manhattan penthouse atmospheres. Stewardesses wore costumes reflecting the chosen theme, including wench attire for the English flights, while music from the corresponding culture filled the cabin, and the cuisine featured dishes inspired by the destination or era. Northwest Airlines took the concept even further with their Fujiyama Room, launched in 1955. These specially designed cabins featured elaborate Asian-inspired decor, and passengers were served shrimp, cheese, and fruit presented inside a pineapple adorned with tiny umbrellas, a playful fusion of Japanese and tiki culture that, while perhaps not entirely authentic, captured the adventurous spirit of the time. Western Airlines offered a different kind of themed experience with their Hunt breakfast flights, beginning in 1957. Inspired by the tradition of enjoying a hearty meal before a hunting expedition, these flights featured a menu of robust breakfast dishes, while passengers were serenaded by the sounds of barking dogs and bugle calls, evoking the excitement of the hunt. These themed flights demonstrate the creativity and ingenuity of mid-century airlines as they work to set themselves apart and give passengers something truly memorable. By today's standards, some of these themes might seem outlandish or culturally insensitive, but they reflect the prevailing tastes and attitudes of their time. United Airlines executive flights. Perhaps the most striking example of the intertwined themes of in-flight service and culinary ambition during this era was United Airlines' executive flight. These exclusive flights, which operated between 1953 and 1970, catered solely to male passengers. Women were simply not permitted to purchase tickets. Targeting elite businessmen traveling between New York and Chicago, the executive flights departed daily at 5 o'clock in the evening. A contemporary advertisement captures the essence of the experience. United Airlines invites you to fly the Chicago Executive, a club in the sky for men only. You'll enjoy the informal, club-like atmosphere. Smoke your pipe or cigar if you wish, and make yourself more comfortable using the pair of slippers provided. Enjoy congenial company in the lounge. A full-course steak dinner is table-served by the two stewardesses aboard, a delicious meal prepared by experienced continental chefs. The advertisement underscores the exclusive and luxurious nature of these flights, emphasizing the freedom and comfort afforded to male passengers, with two dedicated stewardesses serving a full-course dinner prepared by renowned chefs. It is important, however, to acknowledge the openly discriminatory nature of these flights, which excluded women based solely on their gender. The executive flights stand as a stark reminder of the social norms and biases of that era, and a valuable lesson about how attitudes evolve and why inclusivity matters in modern air travel. Luxury and in-flight service seating during the Golden Age became increasingly comfortable, with plush cushions and the introduction of fully reclining seats on longer routes. Some airlines even offered berths with lay-flat beds, reminiscent of those found on luxury trains, or today's high-end premium cabins. In-flight dining transformed into something of a spectacle. TWA, for instance, introduced a service where a trolley bearing a whole roast beef was wheeled down the aisle. Passengers could select their desired cut, which was then carved and served with its juices right at their seat. Other airlines rolled out chilled seafood trolleys piled high with lobster and crab legs. Fresh fruit trays, vibrant salads, and elaborate charcuterie boards became commonplace. Dessert carts followed, offering made-to-order sundaes, a genuinely delightful treat at 30,000 feet. One of the most theatrical in-flight dining displays came from Scandinavian Airlines, which debuted a Scandinavian country-style buffet in the late 1960s. A whole ham was carved right in the aisle, creating an experience that was as entertaining as it was appetizing. These examples illustrate just how committed airlines were to providing passengers not merely with sustenance, but with a truly luxurious and unforgettable dining experience. The elaborate presentations, the emphasis on fresh, high-quality ingredients, and the personalized service turned air travel into a culinary adventure in its own right. The decline of airline food. While the presentation and extravagance of airline food reached remarkable heights in the mid-20th century, the actual flavor and quality often struggled to keep pace with the spectacle. Passengers were, in essence, being served fancy leftovers, food that had inevitably lost some of its original freshness during preparation and transport. Making matters more complicated, our perception of taste changes at altitude. The dry cabin air affects our sense of smell, which in turn diminishes our ability to taste food as intensely as we would on the ground. To compensate, airlines frequently added excessive amounts of salt and sugar to their recipes in an attempt to boost flavor. But a far more significant disruption was coming. The arrival of jet travel changed everything. Jets drastically reduced flight times compared to their propeller-driven predecessors, making the leisurely, multi-course meals that had once been standard, even on domestic flights, increasingly impractical. While first-class passengers might still enjoy a more elaborate dining experience, economy class saw a noticeable decline in both the quality and complexity of meals. Shorter flights also demanded faster service, leading to the replacement of glassware and china with disposable plastic trays and utensils. Interestingly, a 1954 publication already shows passengers eating from plastic trays, suggesting this transition was gradual, but ultimately inevitable. Together, these changes contributed to the growing perception of airline food as bland and unappetizing. The Great Sandwich War. The stark contrast between economy and first-class dining during the jet age is perhaps best illustrated by the infamous Great Sandwich War of 1958. This culinary conflict arose when the International Air Transport Association, responsible for standardizing airline regulations worldwide, decided to allow the sale of economy-class tickets on transatlantic flights. To make these tickets more affordable, airlines had to cut costs, and one of the first casualties was the hot meal. Economy passengers were limited to a simple sandwich. However, a heated disagreement emerged over what exactly constituted a sandwich. American airlines, like Pan American, adhered to a straightforward definition: meat between two slices of bread. European airlines, on the other hand, took a far more liberal approach, crafting elaborate, open-faced creations that closely resembled full meals. These might include 5 slices of ox tongue, a lettuce heart, asparagus, and sliced carrots arranged on a single slice of bread, or 5 slices of liver pâté, fried crisp bacon, mushrooms, and tomato on a slice of bread. In effect, they were serving entire meals cleverly disguised as sandwiches. Pan American, feeling that the European carriers were gaining an unfair advantage, filed a formal protest with the association. In response, the organization was compelled to establish an official definition of a sandwich for the purposes of economy-class service. This definition stipulated that a sandwich must be cold, primarily composed of bread or a similar base, unadorned, self-contained, and must not include luxury ingredients such as caviar, oysters, or lobster. In essence, the association's definition was designed to ensure that economy-class passengers received the most basic and cost-effective meal possible, a principle that, unfortunately, continues to resonate with certain airlines to this day. The Great Sandwich War highlights the enduring tension between providing affordable air travel and delivering a satisfying passenger experience. a conflict that continues to shape the airline industry. The Concorde and airline deregulation. Even as economy-class food declined, first-class passengers continued to enjoy lavish meals and attentive service. And for those with truly deep pockets, the supersonic Concorde, launched in 1969 and operated primarily by British Airways and Air France, offered the ultimate expression of air travel extravagance. This technological marvel whisked passengers between Western Europe and the East Coast of the United States at twice the speed of sound, completing the journey in a mere 3.5 hours. Naturally, such speed and exclusivity came at a considerable price. Concorde tickets could cost up to 30 times the price of an economy fare. But the experience was unparalleled. Passengers were treated to exquisite meals. A breakfast, for instance, might feature fresh tropical fruits, croissants and brioche from Parisian bakeries, eggs Benedict, and Gruyere soufflé, all accompanied by Piper Heidsieck Cuvée Diplomatique champagne served on fine Limoges china. Yet the era of opulent airline dining and the golden age of air travel itself came to an end with the wave of deregulation that swept the industry beginning in 1978. Prior to deregulation, airfares were strictly controlled, which forced airlines to compete through amenities and service rather than price. This environment encouraged the focus on luxurious meals, attentive stewardesses, spacious seating, and in-flight entertainment. Deregulation introduced price wars, which, while beneficial for consumers in terms of lower fares, had a deeply detrimental effect on the overall quality of air travel. Airlines seeking to maximize profits packed more seats into planes, reducing legroom and comfort. Food portions dwindled, and on many flights, complimentary meals disappeared altogether. Southwest Airlines, for example, embraced its identity as the peanut airline, offering passengers little more than small bags of peanuts as a snack. This no-frills approach, while lacking in culinary ambition, became a symbol of affordable and efficient air travel. And for many passengers, myself included, those little bags of peanuts, especially the honey-roasted variety, carry a certain nostalgic charm, evoking memories of a simpler time in the air. The end of the Golden Age. The dawn of the 1980s marked the definitive end of the golden age of air travel, particularly for economy-class passengers. While airlines continued to invest in premium dining experiences for business and first-class travelers, often collaborating with celebrated chefs to create genuinely gourmet menus, the days of elaborate meals and attentive table service in economy class became largely a thing of the past. Personally, I've made my peace with this shift. I appreciate the affordability of modern air travel and am perfectly content to pick up a sandwich at the airport, overpriced as it may be, to enjoy during my flight. Heavenly Delight Salad Recipe. And now, at last, we arrive at the Heavenly Delight Salad, a dish that genuinely blurs the line between salad and dessert. It begins with 4 tart apples, diced into small pieces, then combined with 32 mini marshmallows and 8 quartered maraschino cherries. For this preparation, I've opted to make a half portion, as the original recipe yields a quite generous amount. In a separate bowl, we whip 1 cup of heavy cream to a light, cloud-like consistency. To this, we add a teaspoon of lemon juice, a teaspoon and a half of mayonnaise, and a teaspoon and a half of honey, creating a unique and gently tangy dressing. This dressing is then carefully folded into the apple mixture, and just like that, the heavenly delight is ready to be enjoyed. And there it is, a complete meal fit for a United Airlines flight during the golden age of air travel. The pot roast, the Delmonico potatoes, and the Heavenly Delight salad, all presented on a vintage tray from the early 1960s, complete with miniature salt and pepper shakers and the era's iconic plastic cutlery. So, would you trade your bag of pretzels for a 1950s airline meal? It's a question worth sitting with, because somewhere between the Great Sandwich War and the rise of the no-frills carrier, something genuinely special was lost. And recreating these dishes, even just once, is a remarkable reminder of just how extraordinary the ordinary act of flying once was.